In the quiet German town of Viersitz, Prussia, on March 23, 1912, a child was born who would one day touch the stars while casting shadows on Earth. Werner Magnus Maximilian Freiherr von Braun entered a world on the brink of unprecedented change, where the rigid structures of the old European order would soon crumble under the weight of global conflict and technological revolution. The von Braun family represented the traditional Prussian aristocracy, with deep roots in military service and governmental administration. His father, Magnus Freiherr von Braun, served as a minister of agriculture during the Weimar Republic, while his mother, Emmy von Quistorp, came from a family of scholars and nobles. This combination of practical governance and intellectual pursuit would profoundly shape young Werner's character and ambitions. From his earliest years, Werner displayed an insatiable curiosity about the mechanics of the world around him. Unlike other children who might dismantle toys out of destructive impulse, young von Braun approached each mechanical puzzle with the methodical precision of a natural engineer. His governess often found him in the family's expansive library, poring over technical manuals and scientific journals that most adults would find incomprehensible. The turning point in his young life came at age 13, when his mother gave him a telescope for confirmation. Rather than simply gazing at the celestial bodies with wonder, Werner began calculating orbital mechanics and questioning the fundamental principles that governed planetary motion. He filled countless notebooks with calculations, sketches of rocket designs, and theoretical propositions about space travel that seemed like pure fantasy in the 1920s. His academic journey proved challenging initially, particularly in mathematics and physics, subjects that would later become his greatest strengths. The traditional German educational system, with its emphasis on rote memorization and classical studies, failed to engage his innovative mind. However, everything changed when he encountered the works of Hermann Oberth, particularly The Rocket into Planetary Space, published in 1923. Oberth's mathematical proofs that rocket flight into space was theoretically possible ignited something profound within the teenage von Braun. Here was scientific validation for dreams that had previously existed only in the realm of science fiction. The young aristocrat began corresponding with Oberth and other rocket enthusiasts across Germany, joining a growing community of visionaries who believed humanity's destiny lay among the stars. During his time at the French Gymnasium in Berlin, von Braun's academic performance transformed dramatically. His newfound passion for mathematics and physics drove him to excel in subjects he had previously struggled with. He spent countless hours in the school's modest laboratory, conducting experiments with small solid fuel rockets and studying the principles of propulsion that would later revolutionize human transportation. The economic turmoil of the Weimar Republic created an atmosphere of uncertainty and innovation. Traditional career paths seemed increasingly unstable, while new technologies promised revolutionary changes in society. Young Germans like von Braun found themselves caught between the conservative expectations of their families and the radical possibilities offered by scientific advancement. For Werner, this tension would define much of his early adult life. His enrollment at the Technical University of Berlin in 1930 marked the beginning of his formal scientific education, but it also coincided with Germany's descent into political extremism. The Nazi Party's rise to power would soon present von Braun with choices that would haunt him for the rest of his life, yet also provide opportunities to pursue his rocket research on an unprecedented scale. The young scientist's early experiments with liquid-fueled rockets caught the attention of both civilian space enthusiasts and military officials interested in new weapons technologies. This dual interest in his work foreshadowed the moral complexities that would define his career. Von Braun genuinely believed that rocket technology would ultimately serve peaceful purposes, opening space for human exploration and scientific discovery. As the chapter of his youth closed and his professional career began, Werner von Braun stood at a crossroads between dreams and reality, between scientific idealism and political pragmatism. The decisions he would make in the coming years would determine not only his personal destiny, but also influence the course of both warfare and space exploration for generations to come. His transformation from dreamy aristocratic youth to serious rocket scientist was complete, but the greatest challenges and moral dilemmas of his life lay ahead. The stage was set for a career that would span continents, ideologies, and decades, leaving an indelible mark on human history while raising profound questions about the responsibility of scientists in times of moral crisis. The Germany of the early 1930s pulsed with technological ambition and political upheaval, creating a unique environment where scientific dreams could flourish alongside growing militaristic aspirations. Within this complex landscape, Wernher von Braun found himself at the center of a passionate community of rocket enthusiasts who gathered under the banner of the Verein für Raumschifffahrt, or VFR, the Society for Space Travel. Founded in 1927, the VFR represented one of the world's first serious attempts to transform rocket science from theoretical speculation into practical engineering. The society attracted brilliant minds from across Germany and beyond, including Hermann Oberth, whose mathematical treatises had inspired von Braun's initial interest in rocketry, and Max Valier, a charismatic popularizer of space travel concepts who captured public imagination through lectures and demonstrations. Von Braun's entry into this select circle came through his exceptional undergraduate thesis on liquid-fueled rocket engines, which demonstrated both theoretical sophistication and practical engineering insight. His work immediately caught the attention of society members who recognized in the young aristocrat a rare combination of mathematical brilliance, engineering intuition, and unwavering dedication to the advancement of rocket technology. The Society's headquarters in Berlin became von Braun's second home during his university years. The modest facility, equipped with basic machine tools and testing equipment, buzzed with constant experimentation and debate. Members spent countless hours designing, building, and testing small rocket engines, each failure teaching valuable lessons about the complex physics of combustion, propulsion, and structural engineering. Rudolf Nabel, one of the Society's most practical members, became von Braun's mentor in the art of translating theoretical concepts into working hardware. Under Nabel's guidance, the young engineer learned to balance ambitious design goals with the harsh realities of limited budgets and available materials. These early lessons in pragmatic engineering would serve him well throughout his career, enabling him to achieve remarkable results even under challenging circumstances. The Raketenflugplatz Berlin, established by the VFR in 1930, provided the Society with a dedicated testing ground for their increasingly sophisticated rocket experiments. Located in the suburbs of Berlin, this facility became Europe's first civilian rocket testing site, where von Braun and his colleagues conducted hundreds of static tests and launched their first successful liquid-fueled rockets. Von Braun's natural leadership abilities emerged during these collaborative efforts. Despite his youth, his clear communication skills, systematic approach to problem-solving, and ability to inspire others made him an informal leader within the group. His fellow researchers recognized that he possessed not only technical brilliance, but also the vision and organizational skills necessary to transform their shared dreams into reality. The Society's work attracted attention far beyond the scientific community. Popular magazines featured articles about their rocket experiments, while science fiction authors incorporated their theoretical concepts into stories about future space travel. This public interest provided crucial funding and political support, but it also drew the attention of military officials who recognized the potential weapons applications of rocket technology. Von Braun's doctoral dissertation, completed in 1934, focused on theoretical and experimental investigations of liquid rocket engines. His research pushed the boundaries of contemporary understanding in combustion dynamics, propellant chemistry, and structural engineering. The dissertation demonstrated mathematical rigor combined with practical engineering insight, establishing him as one of Europe's leading experts in rocket propulsion systems. The technical challenges faced by the VFR members were formidable. Liquid rocket engines required precise mixing of fuel and oxidizer, stable combustion chambers capable of withstanding extreme temperatures and pressures, and sophisticated feed systems to deliver propellants at the correct rates. Each component demanded innovative solutions to problems that had never been encountered in traditional engineering applications. Safety considerations presented constant challenges during testing operations. The volatile nature of rocket propellants, combined with high pressures and temperatures, created significant risks for researchers working with limited safety equipment and protocols. Despite these dangers, von Braun and his colleagues pressed forward with their experiments, driven by an unshakable belief in the importance of their work. The Society's achievements during this period laid the foundation for all subsequent rocket development in Germany and beyond. Their systematic approach to testing, careful documentation of results, and collaborative problem-solving methodology established standards that would influence rocket engineering throughout the world. These early pioneers created not just technology, but an entire culture of rocket development that emphasized both scientific rigor and bold innovation. As the political situation in Germany grew increasingly tense, the VFR found itself caught between its peaceful scientific mission and the military potential of its research. The Society's members debated the appropriate response to government interest in their work, with some advocating cooperation and others urging caution about the potential militarization of their discoveries. Von Braun faced personal dilemmas as he completed his formal education and contemplated his future career. The pure research environment of the VFR appealed to his scientific instincts, but he also recognized that more substantial resources would be necessary to achieve his ultimate goal of human space travel. The choices he would make in the coming months would set the course for the most controversial period of his career. The year 1932 marked a pivotal moment in European history, as economic depression and political extremism converged to create conditions that would reshape the continent and the world. Within this turbulent environment, Wernher von Braun faced a decision that would define the rest of his career and raise profound questions about the relationship between scientific advancement and moral responsibility. Captain Walter Dornberger, of the German Army's ballistics and munitions branch, had been quietly monitoring the activities of rocket enthusiasts throughout Germany. Unlike many military officials who dismissed rocket technology as impractical fantasy, Dornberger possessed the technical background and strategic vision to recognize its potential military applications. The Treaty of Versailles, which severely restricted German artillery development, had created an opportunity for alternative weapon systems that might circumvent international limitations. Dornberger's first meeting with von Braun occurred at the Raketenflugplatz Berlin, where the young engineer was conducting tests on improved liquid rocket engines. The captain observed the proceedings with keen interest, asking technical questions that demonstrated his genuine understanding of the engineering challenges involved. He was particularly impressed by von Braun's systematic approach to problem-solving and his ability to achieve practical results with limited resources. The proposition that Dornberger presented was both enticing and troubling. The German Army was prepared to provide substantial funding for rocket research, far exceeding anything available through civilian sources. Modern laboratories, sophisticated testing equipment, and teams of skilled technicians would be placed at von Braun's disposal. In exchange, the research would focus on developing long-range rockets capable of carrying substantial payloads over distances that conventional artillery could not achieve. Von Braun found himself torn between competing loyalties and ambitions. His genuine passion lay in developing rockets for space exploration, a goal that seemed impossible without significant financial backing and technical resources. The military contract offered the means to advance rocket technology far beyond what the VFR could accomplish, yet it would inevitably tie his work to weapons development rather than peaceful exploration. The moral implications of this choice weighed heavily on the young scientist's mind. He sought counsel from Hermann Oberth and other mentors within the space travel community, finding them similarly divided about the appropriate response to military interest in their work. Some argued that advancing rocket technology through any available means would ultimately serve the cause of space exploration, while others worried about the ethical consequences of developing weapons systems. After weeks of deliberation, von Braun made the decision that would haunt him for the rest of his life. He accepted Dornberger's offer, convincing himself that the military application was merely a temporary necessity that would provide the resources needed to achieve his true goal of human space travel. This rationalization would prove tragically inadequate as events unfolded over the following decade. The transition from civilian researcher to military contractor began with von Braun's enrollment as a graduate student at the University of Berlin, while simultaneously working part-time for the Army's rocket program. This arrangement allowed him to maintain connections with the academic community while beginning his classified military research. His dual role reflected the broader complexity of scientific work in an increasingly militarized society. Dornberger established the Army's rocket research program at the Kummersdorf testing ground, located south of Berlin. The facility provided von Braun and his small team with laboratory space, machine shops, and testing areas far superior to anything available at the Raketenflugplatz. The contrast between his previous working conditions and these new resources was dramatic, enabling research progress at an unprecedented pace. The early military rocket designs built upon von Braun's previous work with the VFR, but with significantly different objectives. Instead of optimizing for altitude or flight duration, the new designs emphasized payload capacity and accuracy over predetermined ranges. These requirements demanded innovations in guidance systems, structural engineering, and propellant technology that pushed the boundaries of contemporary engineering knowledge. Von Braun's team at Kummersdorf grew steadily as the program demonstrated promising results. He recruited several former VFR colleagues, including Klaus Riedel and Rudolf Nebel, who brought valuable experience and shared his commitment to advancing rocket technology. The group developed a collaborative culture that balanced military security requirements with the open exchange of ideas necessary for rapid technical progress. The A-1 rocket, their first military design, incorporated lessons learned from years of civilian experimentation while addressing the specific requirements outlined by Army officials. Although this initial design encountered stability problems during flight testing, it demonstrated the feasibility of liquid-fueled military rockets and provided valuable data for subsequent development efforts. Success with improved designs led to expanded funding and facility improvements. Von Braun found himself managing increasingly complex projects while maintaining his research productivity. His leadership skills developed rapidly as he learned to coordinate the efforts of engineers, technicians, and administrative personnel while satisfying the demanding requirements of military sponsors. The isolation imposed by military security classifications troubled von Braun, who had grown accustomed to sharing ideas freely within the international scientific community. His previous collaborations with researchers in other countries became impossible, limiting his access to developments in related fields and reducing opportunities for independent peer review of his work. As his team achieved successive technical milestones, von Braun began to understand the full implications of his decision to accept military funding. The rockets he was developing would inevitably be used as weapons, potentially causing widespread destruction and loss of life. Yet he convinced himself that advancing the technology was more important than its immediate applications, believing that the knowledge gained would ultimately serve peaceful purposes. The moral compromise that von Braun made during this period would define the most controversial phase of his career. His choice to prioritize technical advancement over ethical considerations reflected broader tensions within the scientific community about the appropriate relationship between research and military applications. These same dilemmas would continue to challenge scientists throughout the remainder of the 20th century and beyond. The establishment of the Peenemünde Research Facility in 1937 represented the culmination of von Braun's transformation from idealistic space enthusiast to director of the world's most advanced rocket development program. Located on a remote island in the Baltic Sea, this vast complex would become the birthplace of modern rocketry and the prototype for all subsequent space programs, while simultaneously serving as the development center for weapons that would rain destruction across Europe. Heinrich Himmler and other high-ranking officials had recognized the strategic importance of rocket technology, leading to massive investments in research infrastructure that dwarfed anything previously available to civilian scientists. The Peenemünde facility sprawled across thousands of acres, incorporating sophisticated laboratories, manufacturing facilities, testing stands, and launch complexes that represented the pinnacle of contemporary engineering capability. Von Braun found himself appointed as technical director of the facility at the remarkable age of 25, making him one of the youngest major project leaders in German scientific history. His appointment reflected not only his technical brilliance, but also his demonstrated ability to manage complex development programs and maintain productive relationships with military sponsors while achieving ambitious technical objectives. The A-4 rocket, later designated as the V-2, represented von Braun's most significant technological achievement during this period. Standing 46 feet tall and weighing over 13 tons when fully fueled, the A-4 incorporated advanced solutions to every major challenge in rocket engineering. Its design pushed the boundaries of contemporary knowledge in propulsion, guidance, materials science, and manufacturing technology. The rocket's propulsion system utilized liquid oxygen and alcohol as propellants, fed to the combustion chamber through a sophisticated turbopump system that von Braun's team had developed through years of experimentation. The engine produced 25 tons of thrust, sufficient to accelerate the vehicle to speeds exceeding 3,000 miles per hour and ranges of nearly 200 miles. Guidance system development presented unprecedented challenges, as no existing technology could provide the accuracy required for military applications. Von Braun's engineers developed innovative gyroscopic guidance systems combined with aerodynamic control surfaces that enabled the rocket to maintain its intended trajectory, despite the complex forces acting upon it during flight. Manufacturing the A4 required innovations in large-scale production techniques, as traditional manufacturing methods proved inadequate for rockets of this size and complexity. The Peenemünde team developed new welding techniques, quality control procedures and assembly methods that would later influence manufacturing practices throughout the aerospace industry. Von Braun maintained detailed technical documentation throughout the development process, creating comprehensive records of design decisions, test results, and manufacturing procedures. This systematic approach to knowledge management would prove invaluable in subsequent rocket programs, as it enabled rapid training of new personnel and systematic improvement of existing designs. The first successful A4 launch occurred on October 3, 1942, achieving an altitude of over 50 miles and demonstrating the feasibility of large, liquid-fueled rockets. Von Braun later described this moment as one of the most significant in his career, as it validated years of theoretical work and established the foundation for all subsequent rocket development. Testing programs at Peenemünde involved hundreds of launches, with each flight providing valuable data about rocket performance under various conditions. Von Braun's team analyzed flight telemetry, recovered hardware, and performance data to continuously refine their designs and manufacturing processes. This iterative approach to development established methodologies that would later be adopted by space programs worldwide. The technical achievements at Peenemünde extended far beyond rocket propulsion systems. The facility's engineers developed advanced materials, sophisticated manufacturing techniques, and complex systems integration approaches that advanced the state of engineering knowledge across multiple disciplines. These innovations would prove valuable in numerous civilian applications after the conclusion of the conflict. Von Braun's leadership during this period demonstrated his ability to inspire and coordinate the efforts of thousands of engineers, technicians, and support personnel. His management philosophy emphasized clear communication, systematic problem-solving, and collaborative decision-making that maximized the creative contributions of team members while maintaining focus on project objectives. The scale of the Peenemünde operation required sophisticated project management techniques that were unprecedented in contemporary engineering programs. Von Braun's team developed new approaches to scheduling, resource allocation, and quality control that would later influence management practices throughout the aerospace and technology industries. International recognition of the technical achievements at Peenemünde came through various channels, including intelligence reports from Allied observers who recognized the revolutionary nature of German rocket technology. These assessments acknowledged the facility's role in advancing human understanding of propulsion, guidance, and systems engineering. The success of the V2 program established von Braun's reputation as one of the world's leading rocket engineers, while simultaneously creating the moral burden that would follow him throughout his subsequent career. The rockets he had designed with dreams of space exploration were instead being manufactured as weapons, creating a profound contradiction between his personal aspirations and professional achievements. As the program achieved its technical objectives, von Braun began planning for future developments that would build upon the V2's success. His vision extended far beyond military applications to include space stations, lunar expeditions, and interplanetary travel. These concepts would later form the foundation for his post-conflict career, but during this period, they remained dreams overshadowed by the immediate demands of weapons production. The technological legacy of the V2 program would influence rocket development for decades to come, establishing design principles and engineering approaches that would eventually enable human space exploration. However, the moral complexities surrounding its development would continue to challenge assessments of von Braun's contributions to human knowledge and technological progress. As the European conflict intensified and German military fortunes declined, the V2 rocket program transitioned from experimental development to mass production, creating a complex web of technological achievement and moral compromise that would forever stain von Braun's legacy. The year 1943 marked a critical turning point when rocket production moved from the relative sanctuary of Peenemünde to underground facilities where the human cost of advanced technology became tragically apparent. The Allied bombing campaign against German industrial targets had made surface manufacturing facilities increasingly vulnerable, forcing military planners to seek protected production sites for critical weapons systems. The solution came in the form of vast underground complexes carved from solid rock, where rocket assembly could continue despite the intensifying aerial bombardment of German cities and industrial centers. Mittelwerk, the primary V2 production facility, was established in the Harz Mountains using extensive tunnel systems that had previously served as fuel storage depots. The complex eventually encompassed over 30 miles of tunnels, providing sufficient space for large-scale rocket manufacturing while remaining largely immune to aerial attack. The facility represented an engineering marvel in its own right, demonstrating German technical capabilities under extreme wartime conditions. Von Braun's role during this period became increasingly complex, as he found himself balancing technical leadership responsibilities with growing awareness of the moral implications of his work. His official duties required regular visits to production facilities to resolve technical problems and ensure quality control, bringing him into direct contact with conditions that contradicted his personal values and scientific ideals. The workforce at Mittelwerk included thousands of forced laborers, prisoners of conflict, and concentration camp inmates who worked under brutal conditions to manufacture the rockets that von Braun had designed. These individuals endured inadequate food, primitive living conditions, and dangerous working environments while producing weapons intended for use against their own countries and allies. Contemporary accounts describe von Braun's visible discomfort during visits to production facilities, where he witnessed firsthand the human suffering that had become integral to rocket manufacturing. Former colleagues reported his attempts to improve working conditions within the constraints of his limited authority, though such efforts proved largely ineffective given the broader context of wartime policies and practices. The technical challenges of mass production required constant attention from von Braun and his engineering team. Manufacturing rockets in underground facilities presented unique problems related to quality control, materials handling, and assembly procedures that differed significantly from the controlled environment of Peenemunde's research facilities. Each solution demanded innovative approaches to manufacturing engineering. Quality assurance became particularly critical as production volumes increased and manufacturing moved to less controlled environments. Von Braun's team developed comprehensive testing procedures and inspection protocols designed to ensure that mass-produced rockets would perform reliably despite the challenging production conditions. These quality control innovations would later influence manufacturing practices throughout the aerospace industry. The moral weight of his situation began to affect von Braun's behavior and decision-making during this period. Colleagues noted his increasing preoccupation with post-conflict plans for peaceful space exploration, as if focusing on future applications could somehow mitigate the immediate consequences of his wartime work. His personal writings from this period reflect growing internal conflict between his scientific ambitions and ethical concerns. Technical documentation from this period reveals von Braun's continued focus on improving rocket performance and reliability, even as production priorities emphasized quantity over advanced development. His engineering notes include detailed analyses of flight failures and proposed modifications that would enhance accuracy and payload capacity, demonstrating his persistent commitment to technical excellence despite the troubling context. The scale of V2 production eventually reached thousands of rockets, each representing countless hours of forced labor and contributing to a weapons program that would ultimately prove militarily ineffective while consuming enormous resources. Von Braun later acknowledged that the rockets' military impact was minimal compared to the human and material costs of their production, adding to his sense of moral burden. Intelligence reports from this period indicate that von Braun maintained secret contacts with colleagues outside Germany, sharing technical information that would later prove valuable in post-conflict rocket development programs. These activities demonstrated his growing awareness that his future lay beyond the immediate wartime applications of his technology though they also reflected his pragmatic understanding of political realities. The final months of rocket production were marked by increasingly desperate attempts to maintain manufacturing output, despite shortages of materials, deteriorating transportation infrastructure, and the approaching collapse of German military resistance. Von Braun's team worked frantically to preserve technical documentation and key personnel, recognizing that their knowledge would be valuable regardless of the conflict's outcome. As Allied forces advanced toward German rocket facilities, von Braun faced critical decisions about his team's future and the fate of their accumulated technical knowledge. His choices during this period would determine whether their rocket expertise would be lost, captured, or preserved for future peaceful applications. The consequences of these decisions would shape the next phase of his career and influence the development of space exploration programs worldwide. The moral complexities of von Braun's wartime experience would continue to influence assessments of his contributions to human knowledge and technological progress. His technical achievements during this period were undeniable, yet they came at a human cost that raised profound questions about the responsibilities of scientists working under morally compromised circumstances. The transition from weapons development to peaceful space exploration would require von Braun to confront these moral complexities while building new relationships with former enemies who had suffered under the weapon systems he had helped create. This transformation would test his ability to transcend his wartime experience and redirect his expertise toward the space exploration goals that had originally motivated his scientific career. The spring of 1945 brought the collapse of German military resistance and forced Wernher von Braun to confront the most crucial decision of his life. As Allied armies converged on rocket facilities throughout Germany, he faced a choice that would determine not only his personal survival, but also the future of rocket technology and space exploration. The path he chose would lead from the moral complexities of weapons development to the inspiring achievements of peaceful space exploration. By early 1945, von Braun had begun planning for the inevitable German defeat. Recognizing that his team's survival and the preservation of their accumulated knowledge would require careful strategy and decisive action. He understood that their rocket expertise would be valuable to any victor, but he also recognized the importance of choosing allies who would support peaceful applications of their technology rather than simply continuing weapons development under different sponsors. The approaching Soviet forces represented one potential future for German rocket technology, but von Braun feared that surrender to Soviet authorities would result in forced continuation of weapons research under conditions similar to those he had experienced during the recent conflict. Intelligence reports suggested that Soviet officials were actively seeking German rocket experts and technical documentation to support their own military programs. American forces offered a more promising alternative, particularly given the United States' industrial capacity and democratic traditions that might support peaceful space exploration goals. Von Braun had maintained informal contacts with American scientific communities before the conflict, giving him insight into their potential interest in rocket technology for civilian applications rather than purely military purposes. The decision to surrender to American forces required careful coordination to ensure that key personnel and technical documentation would remain together rather than being scattered among different Allied intelligence services. Von Braun organized his team's evacuation from Peenemünde, ensuring that critical technical materials were preserved while destroying sensitive information that might be misused for weapons development. The surrender itself occurred in the Bavarian Alps, where von Braun's team had established a temporary headquarters while attempting to avoid capture by Soviet forces. The initial contact with American intelligence officers was cautious, as both sides recognized the potential value of the exchange while remaining uncertain about the other's intentions and capabilities. Major Robert Staver of the U.S. Army's Ordnance Corps served as the primary liaison with von Braun's team during the initial surrender negotiations. Staver possessed sufficient technical background to appreciate the significance of German rocket technology and the potential value of preserving the expertise that von Braun's team represented. His approach emphasized the peaceful applications of rocket technology rather than immediate military benefits. The transfer of German rocket experts to American custody occurred through Operation Paperclip, a classified program designed to prevent advanced German technology from falling into Soviet hands while simultaneously providing the United States with access to cutting-edge research and development capabilities. Von Braun and his colleagues found themselves at the center of this complex intelligence operation. Initial interrogations focused on technical details of German rocket development, with American officials seeking to understand both the achievements and limitations of V-2 technology. Von Braun cooperated fully with these debriefings, recognizing that demonstrating the value of his team's knowledge was essential to securing favorable treatment and future opportunities for continued research. The moral burden of his wartime experience weighed heavily on von Braun during this transition period. He struggled to explain his decisions to American interrogators while maintaining hope that his future work would somehow compensate for the suffering caused by his weapons development activities. This internal conflict would influence his behavior and motivations throughout his subsequent American career. Transportation to the United States began in late 1945, with von Braun and his key colleagues receiving temporary visas that allowed them to continue their rocket research under American sponsorship. The transition from enemy alien to valued contributor occurred gradually, as American officials assessed both their technical capabilities and their potential loyalty to democratic institutions and peaceful objectives. Fort Bliss, Texas, became the initial American home for von Braun's team, providing a secure environment where they could continue rocket development while adapting to American culture and working methods. The desert location offered suitable conditions for rocket testing, while maintaining the security requirements necessary for classified military research programs. The cultural adjustment proved challenging for von Braun and his colleagues, who found themselves in an unfamiliar country with different languages, customs, and professional practices. However, their reception by American colleagues was generally positive, as the scientific community recognized the value of their expertise and welcomed their contributions to advancing rocket technology. Von Braun's first American rocket projects built directly upon his German experience, while incorporating improvements suggested by American engineering practices and safety standards. The successful adaptation of V-2 technology to American requirements demonstrated both the universal applicability of rocket engineering principles and the potential for international scientific cooperation. The transition from weapons development to peaceful space exploration began almost immediately, as American sponsors showed greater interest in the scientific applications of rocket technology than in purely military objectives. This shift aligned perfectly with von Braun's original motivation for entering rocket research and provided him with opportunities to pursue his long-standing dreams of space exploration. Public reception of the German rocket team was mixed, with some Americans questioning the wisdom of employing former enemy scientists, while others recognized the potential benefits of their expertise for advancing American technological capabilities. Von Braun worked diligently to demonstrate his commitment to American values and peaceful applications of rocket technology. The rehabilitation of von Braun's reputation required consistent demonstration of his dedication to peaceful objectives and democratic principles. His public statements emphasized the scientific benefits of space exploration while acknowledging the moral complexities of his wartime experience. This careful balance between technical expertise and ethical reflection would characterize his entire American career. The foundation for America's space program was being established during these early post-conflict years, with von Braun's expertise playing a crucial role in developing the technical capabilities and organizational structures that would eventually enable human space exploration. His transformation from weapons developer to space pioneer represented both personal redemption and a broader shift in the applications of advanced technology. The transformation of Wernher von Braun from controversial weapons developer to celebrated space pioneer culminated in the achievements of America's space program during the 1950s and 1960s. His journey from the underground factories of wartime Germany to the launch pads of Cape Canaveral represented not only personal redemption, but also humanity's transition from using advanced technology for destruction to employing it for exploration and discovery. The establishment of NASA in 1958 provided von Braun with the institutional framework necessary to pursue his lifelong dream of human space exploration. As director of the Marshall Space Flight Center in Huntsville, Alabama, he found himself leading the development of the massive Saturn rockets that would eventually carry American astronauts to the moon. This position represented the fulfillment of ambitions that had motivated him since his youth in Germany. The Saturn V rocket, von Braun's greatest achievement, demonstrated the full potential of the rocket technology that he had spent decades developing and refining. Standing 363 feet tall and weighing over 6 million pounds when fully fueled, the Saturn V generated 7.5 million pounds of thrust during liftoff, making it the most powerful rocket successfully flown in human history. Its design incorporated lessons learned from every previous rocket program, from the early experiments with the VFR through the V2 development at Peenemünde. Von Braun's management philosophy during the Apollo program emphasized the same collaborative approach that had characterized his most successful previous projects. He fostered an environment where engineers could contribute innovative solutions to complex problems while maintaining rigorous standards for safety and reliability. This leadership style proved essential for coordinating the efforts of thousands of personnel working on the most ambitious technological project in human history. The successful moon landing on July 20, 1969, represented the culmination of von Braun's career and the ultimate vindication of his belief that rocket technology could serve peaceful and inspiring purposes. As Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin walked on the lunar surface, von Braun witnessed the realization of dreams that had sustained him through the moral complexities and technical challenges of his earlier career. Public recognition of von Braun's contributions to space exploration reached its peak during the Apollo program, as Americans celebrated his role in achieving national objectives that had seemed impossible just a few years earlier. His transformation from former enemy scientist to national hero demonstrated the power of redemption through dedication to peaceful and beneficial objectives. The technical innovations developed during the Apollo program extended far beyond space exploration, influencing numerous civilian technologies and industrial processes. Von Braun's systematic approach to complex engineering problems established methodologies that continue to influence technological development across multiple disciplines. His emphasis on thorough testing, comprehensive documentation, and systematic quality control became standard practices throughout the aerospace industry. Educational outreach became an increasingly important aspect of von Braun's work during his later career, as he recognized the importance of inspiring future generations of scientists and engineers. His popular writings and television appearances helped communicate the excitement and significance of space exploration to general audiences, building public support for continued investment in scientific research and technological development. The moral complexities of von Braun's wartime experience continued to influence public assessments of his contributions to space exploration. His willingness to acknowledge these ethical dilemmas while demonstrating consistent commitment to peaceful applications of technology provided a model for scientists facing similar choices between competing loyalties and objectives. International cooperation became a central theme in von Braun's vision for future space exploration, reflecting his understanding that the most ambitious objectives would require collaboration among nations rather than competition between them. His advocacy for joint missions and shared technological development helped establish precedents that would later enable projects like the International Space Station. The environmental perspective provided by space exploration, particularly the famous Earthrise photographs taken during Apollo missions, contributed to growing awareness of humanity's responsibility for protecting the planet's ecological systems. Von Braun recognized that space technology could play important roles in environmental monitoring and resource management, extending the benefits of his life's work to address contemporary global challenges. Von Braun's later years were devoted to promoting human missions to Mars and the establishment of permanent space colonies, objectives that built logically upon the achievements of the Apollo program. His detailed plans for interplanetary exploration demonstrated the same systematic approach that had characterized his earlier projects, though political and economic constraints prevented their implementation during his lifetime. The cultural impact of von Braun's work extended far beyond technical achievements, inspiring countless individuals to pursue careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. His example demonstrated that dedicated individuals could overcome enormous obstacles to achieve objectives that benefit all of humanity, providing motivation for subsequent generations of innovators and explorers. The institutional legacy of von Braun's career includes not only the technical achievements of specific rocket programs, but also the organizational structures and management practices that enabled complex technological projects. His approach to coordinating multidisciplinary teams and managing large-scale development programs established models that continue to influence contemporary project management across various industries. Recognition of von Braun's contributions to human knowledge and technological capability has grown over time, as the peaceful applications of space technology have demonstrated their value for communications, navigation, weather forecasting, and scientific research. The moral complexities of his wartime experience remain part of his legacy, but they are balanced by the enormous benefits that his life's work has provided to human civilization. The transformation of rocket technology, from weapons of destruction to tools of exploration and discovery, represents one of the most remarkable chapters in the history of human technological development. Von Braun's central role in this transformation demonstrates both the potential for personal redemption and the power of technology to serve constructive rather than destructive purposes when guided by appropriate ethical considerations and institutional frameworks. Wernher von Braun passed away on June 16, 1977, leaving behind a legacy that continues to challenge our understanding of the relationship between scientific advancement and moral responsibility. His life's journey from aristocratic German youth to American space pioneer encompasses some of the most significant technological achievements of the 20th century, while simultaneously raising profound questions about the choices that scientists face when their work intersects with political power and military applications. The rockets that von Braun designed for weapons ultimately enabled humanity's greatest peaceful adventure, the exploration of space. The same technical principles that powered missiles carrying destruction also lifted astronauts toward the moon and robotic explorers toward distant planets. This paradox illustrates the dual nature of technology itself, which can serve either constructive or destructive purposes, depending upon the intentions and choices of those who develop and deploy it. The moral complexities of von Braun's career reflect broader challenges that continue to confront scientists and engineers working on advanced technologies. The development of artificial intelligence, genetic engineering, and other powerful capabilities raises similar questions about responsibility, control, and the potential consequences of technical innovation. Von Braun's experience provides both cautionary lessons and inspiring examples for contemporary researchers facing analogous dilemmas. The space exploration programs that von Braun helped establish have generated benefits that extend far beyond their original objectives. Satellite communications, GPS navigation, weather forecasting, and medical technologies all trace their origins to investments in rocket technology and space exploration. These civilian applications demonstrate the potential for military research to generate peaceful benefits, though they do not resolve the ethical questions surrounding the initial development process. International cooperation in space has largely fulfilled von Braun's vision of peaceful collaboration, replacing destructive competition. The International Space Station represents the culmination of his belief that space exploration could unite rather than divide humanity, bringing together former adversaries in pursuit of common scientific objectives. This achievement suggests that technology can indeed serve as a bridge between cultures and nations. The environmental movement has embraced space-based Earth observation as a crucial tool for understanding and protecting planetary ecosystems. Von Braun's rockets enabled the perspective from space that revealed Earth's fragility and beauty, contributing to global awareness of environmental challenges. This unexpected benefit demonstrates how technological capabilities can generate insights that transform human consciousness and behavior. Future missions to Mars and other destinations will build upon the foundation that von Braun established during his career, extending human presence throughout the solar system and perhaps beyond. His detailed plans for interplanetary exploration continue to influence contemporary mission designs, while his systematic approach to complex engineering problems remains relevant for addressing the technical challenges of long-duration space travel. The question of redemption through subsequent good works remains central to assessing von Braun's legacy. His post-conflict dedication to peaceful space exploration represented genuine commitment to constructive objectives, yet it could not undo the suffering caused by his wartime weapons development. This tension between past actions and future contributions illustrates the complexity of moral judgment in cases where individuals have participated in both harmful and beneficial activities. Educational institutions worldwide continue to teach von Braun's technical contributions while grappling with appropriate ways to address the ethical dimensions of his career. This ongoing discussion reflects broader challenges in presenting historical figures whose achievements are inseparable from morally problematic contexts. The goal is neither to ignore these complexities nor to dismiss remarkable accomplishments, but rather to understand them within their full historical context. The democratization of space technology through commercial companies and international programs has fulfilled von Braun's prediction that space exploration would eventually involve numerous nations and organizations rather than remaining the exclusive domain of major powers. This development suggests that the benefits of space technology may become more widely distributed, reducing the potential for any single entity to control or misuse these powerful capabilities. Wernher von Braun's life story reminds us that individual choices matter enormously in determining how powerful technologies are developed and applied. His decisions, both troubling and inspiring, influenced the course of human technological development and continue to shape our understanding of scientific responsibility. His legacy challenges each new generation of scientists and engineers to consider carefully the purposes for which they will employ their knowledge and skills. The rockets have carried us to the moon and beyond, transforming humanity's relationship with the cosmos and opening infinite possibilities for exploration, discovery, and growth. Yet, the moral questions raised by their development remain as relevant today as they were during von Braun's lifetime, reminding us that technological capability must always be balanced with ethical wisdom and humanitarian concern. Your focus on historical documentaries about World War II positions you perfectly to explore these complex moral narratives that resonate with modern audiences. Von Braun's story exemplifies the type of nuanced historical content that can generate deep engagement on YouTube, as it combines technological fascination with ethical complexity. Consider developing similar documentaries about other scientists and engineers who faced moral dilemmas during conflicts, as these human stories of choice and consequence often perform exceptionally well in documentary formats while maintaining the educational value your channel provides.